All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig in a Pickle Krug Show with a little 49er video. What is the one defensive problem that the 49ers still have going into the Tampa Bay game? We'll discuss that coming up next. But first, let me tell you, Pig in a Pickle, open 7 days a week in both spots, Corte Madera and Emeryville from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. Pig in a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out. Get the brisket chili. Go say hi to Damon and Mary and tell them that Larry Krueger sent you. All right, let's talk a little bit about the Niners. The Niners really coming out of the Cincinnati game into the bye week had three major problems on defense. They weren't getting home on the quarterback enough. They weren't sacking the quarterback. They were getting pressures, but they weren't getting sacks. They were getting close, but they weren't affecting the quarterback enough. The other two problems they had were both, readily apparent in that Cincinnati game. The coverage was way, way, way too soft. Whether they were playing man or zone, there was just too much room overall in their coverage. And the third thing was that it just seemed they looked totally lost trying to defend any screen pass. So now we fast forward 1 week. Now they've played Jacksonville, and they played well against Jacksonville. And I think that now their problems are really just one. They just have one major problem. Chase Young has added to their pass rush. Now you got Bosa and Chase Young outside. Hargrave played his best game as a 49er in this game in Jacksonville. Armstead is having a terrific year quietly. They have Randy Gregory off the edge. They've got Cleveland Farrell playing more of a role that he's used to playing as far as his snap load. And they're getting it done up front. They got home against Trevor Lawrence. They sacked Trevor Lawrence. So rushing the quarterback, I would say now with the addition of Chase Young, Randy Gregory, and Hargrave dialing it up, I don't think that's a problem anymore. The pass coverage was much, much tighter in this Jacksonville game. You could make an argument that the pass coverage was really better than the pass rush. The early part of that game when Lawrence dropped back to pass, he had time to throw and nobody was open. So it's the combination of putting your best players on the field. I mean, if you look at the snap count, it's really clear the 49ers, they played Isaiah Oliver 3 snaps. They played Ambry Thomas 46 snaps. So they made the change. Isaiah Oliver has effectively been replaced here by Ambry Thomas. And you still have the possibility of Darrell Luter Jr., who's a terrific athlete, and Samuel Womack, who's an equally outstanding athlete, potentially entering the mix as far as cornerback play is concerned. So I don't think the coverage is going to be an issue. Ambry had very tight coverage. He had the one pass interference call. Other than that, I thought his coverage was really tight all day. And then, of course, he made the play of the game with the forced fumble and the 91-yard return that was negated by the penalty. But that was a huge play for the 49ers. And I would say that the Niners' coverage with Ambry instead of Oliver is good enough. And then if you can somehow get anything out of Luter Jr. or Womack, I think it's going to be plenty good enough. Now, there's always chances for injuries, and you just, knock on wood that you don't suffer injuries. But right now, I would say, if defensive football is about rush and cover, they've got enough rush and they've got enough coverage. So what is the primary problem for the 49ers on the defensive side of the ball? They're not defending the screen game well at all. Every time there's a screen pass thrown, it looks like it could go the distance. There's guys taking bad angles. There's guys who look like they've never seen a screen before. There's all kinds of room on the field. It always looks like the opposition is one broken tackle away from turning a screen pass into a 75-yard gain or a touchdown. It's not necessarily easy to discern exactly what the issue is. That's going to be one of the questions that I ask Steve Wilks later today when I'm down in Santa Clara for the Thursday presser, is what is going on in the screen game that there's so much space. Now, Kyle Shanahan kind of discussed it earlier this week. He said, when you play some zone coverages, sometimes you can all of a sudden have the appearance of defending the screen game poorly because there's so much room there, because they throw it effectively and you're playing zone and you got a guy out of position. He also kind of mentioned that when you're in that wide 9 that the Niners are in and you really rush hard up the field and your whole focus is get up the field, which is the focus in the wide 9. Get up the field, move the quarterback off the spot, make him feel your rush, make him feel that pressure. When you're running that wide 9 and you get guys getting up the field, they could be a little bit out of position on the screen game. But let's make no mistake about it. The NFL is the ultimate copycat league. Whatever you put on film affects the way teams scheme you the next week. So everybody's going to watch that Jacksonville film, and they're going to see, man, the 49er rush is getting home. And they're going to see, man, the coverage on the back end it was a lot tighter against Jacksonville than it was against Cincinnati. But they're also going to notice that the Niners look like a fish out of water against screen passes. So get ready for Baker Mayfield screens to Rachaad White. Get ready for Geno Smith screens to Kenneth Walker. Get ready for Hurts to throw screen passes to his running backs. Gainwell in particular is a really good receiver out of the backfield. Swift, though, can catch it as well. Boston Scott can as well. I mean, get ready for the screen game because it is coming, and you're going to have to prove that you can stop it. And if you can't stop it, it's going to be a long second half of the year because you're going to get a lot of screens. The screen game is a great way to neutralize an overpowering rush. It makes defenders want to stay home more. A screen game also is great against teams that over pursue. The 49ers, I think for the most part, do not over pursue. They're not overzealous in their pursuit. They don't get out of their lanes that often. It's a fairly disciplined defense as far as that's concerned. But they do get up the field and rush the quarterback hard, and they do tend to play a lot of zone coverages. So those are things that aren't going to change. They're going to continue to rush the quarterback hard. They're going to continue to play zone coverages, but they're going to have to do a better job. Offensive football is about creating space. Defensive football is about closing that space down. They did a really great job this last week closing the space down that the Bengals had in the short passing game. The Bengals only threw a couple of screens because they didn't need to. But now that the 49ers are rushing the passer better, now that they're defending the short pass better, now that their coverage underneath is far tighter, get ready for teams to test them. And they're going to look at the film. They're going to say, well, what's worked against the Niners? And they're going to see that the screen game has worked. And if the Niners don't make the proper adjustments and don't play fundamental football defending those screens, they're going to get gouged by them more and more. And the more they struggle to defend it, the more they're going to get it. So that's really the name of the game right there. I think the Niners had 3 primary issues coming out of Cincinnati. They couldn't get home on the quarterback. The coverage in the short passing game was way too soft. And the screen game was there, and they didn't defend it comfortably, or they didn't recognize when teams were throwing screens until late. They didn't swarm to the ball. Guys took bad angles. There was huge areas of open space. Well, the pass rush is solved. I think the coverage, largely with the addition of Ambry and the subtraction of Oliver, has been solved. But now it's about focusing in practice on this screen game and how to defend it. And if they don't do a better job defending it, they're going to see nothing but screens in the second half of the year and in their playoff run. So it's a huge element of the game. All right, thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of The Krug Show. Thanks to Mojo Fantasy for sponsoring this video. Check that link in the description and make sure you use the promo code KRUG, K-R-U-E-G, and get up to $100 matched on your first deposit at Mojo Fantasy. And everybody who does is automatically entered into a drawing to win a Purdy or a Bosa jersey, which will be given away on Thanksgiving night. So look for that. Definitely sign up. Definitely use the promo code KRUG at mojofantasy.com. And thanks to all you guys for supporting The Crook Show on YouTube.